Welcome to the Cosmic Pillow, where learning and calm can share the same breath. If you're new here, this is a space for long, gentle journeys through ideas that are usually too vast for the daylight hours. Tonight, we're going to tell the whole story of the universe, from the hush before the beginning, through the birth of light, to the far, dim future where even starlight fades to memory. You don't need to stay awake for it. You don't even need to remember it. Just let the words move past you like a slow current. And if you'd like to help this little corner of the cosmos grow, you can press the like button, subscribe, or leave a quiet comment when you wake again. I love seeing where you're listening from, small dots of light scattered across the planet, just like the galaxies in our story. Now, take a slow breath. Let your shoulders settle. Tonight we begin at the very start. Or perhaps just before it. Before there was space, there was no where. Before there was time, there was no when. The universe did not appear inside something. Rather, the something appeared. A smooth, invisible fabric stretched out of a state we don't yet understand. In that instant, so brief we measure it in fractions of seconds, the seeds of everything were sown. Physicists call this moment the Big Bang, though it wasn't a bang in the ordinary sense. There was no explosion echoing through a void, no shock wave rippling across empty darkness. It was expansion itself, the sudden swelling of the very metric that defines distance. Every point moved away from every other point. There was no center and no edge, only a growing field of possibility. Inside that newborn cosmos, energy was everything. It churned, it boiled, it glowed at temperatures beyond imagination. From that energy, particles blinked into existence: quarks, leptons, gluons, and photons. The smallest pieces of what would become stars and stones and stories. Matter and antimatter danced together, and in nearly perfect balance they annihilated one another. But not perfectly. 1 part in a billion remained. That tiny surplus is why anything exists at all. Without that imperfection, there would be no atoms, no worlds, no you. As the universe expanded, it cooled. After mere microseconds, quarks began to bind into protons and neutrons. After a few minutes, those particles fused into the first atomic nuclei: hydrogen mostly, helium in smaller measure, and a trace of lithium, the lightest of the elements, floating in a sea of radiant energy. The temperature dropped, the pressure eased, and the young cosmos entered a kind of glowing infancy. Light filled everything, but could travel nowhere. The universe was still too thick, too crowded. Photons scattered endlessly off charged particles, ricocheting like fireflies in fog. To an impossible observer, it would have looked brilliant and opaque at once. A shining cloud with no depth. Hundreds of thousands of years passed. Expansion continued, stretching space, cooling matter. Eventually, the electrons slowed enough to be captured by nuclei, forming the first neutral atoms. Suddenly, light was free. The fog cleared, and the universe became transparent. The moment of first clarity, when radiation decoupled from matter, left behind a faint afterglow. We can still detect it today as a soft background of microwaves humming through every direction of the sky. It is the oldest light we can see, the universe's own baby picture. That light carries tiny ripples, minute variations in temperature and density, just a few parts in 100,000. Those small unevennesses were the seeds of everything to come. Over billions of years, gravity would draw the denser regions together, pulling in more matter, tightening its invisible grip until the first stars ignited. For a long stretch after the first light escaped, the universe was dark again. Hydrogen drifted in vast clouds, cooling, waiting. Gravity worked quietly, gathering the gas into knots. When those knots became dense enough, pressure and temperature soared, and the first stars were born. Imagine that first dawn. After hundreds of millions of years of cosmic night, the universe flickered with starlight for the very first time. Those stars were enormous, monsters compared to our sun. They live fast and burn violently, fusing hydrogen into heavier elements and exploding in brilliant supernovae. In their deaths, they scattered carbon, oxygen, iron, and all the other ingredients that would someday form planets, oceans, and living things. Every atom in your body was forged in that chain of stellar births and deaths. You are, in the most literal sense, the ashes of ancient stars. As generations of stars came and went, they gathered into families, galaxies, great spinning cities of light. Over billions of years, those galaxies formed clusters and superclusters, woven together by invisible filaments of dark matter. If you could step far enough back, the structure of the universe would look like a web of shimmering threads, bright knots where galaxies crowd together, dark voids in between, a cosmic lace, delicate and immense. Somewhere in one of those threads, a small spiral galaxy took shape, the Milky Way. Within one of its arms, about halfway from the center to the edge, a modest star began to shine. Around that star, dust and gas coalesced into worlds. On the third of those worlds, oceans formed, chemistry stirred, and life began its long conversation with time. If you're still awake, let yourself smile at that. After all this grandeur, after eons of fire and gravity, here you are, a fragment of awareness on a tiny planet, breathing the recycled starlight of 13 billion years. Every molecule in you has traveled a path from that first hot plasma to this quiet moment. And the story continues. The universe is still expanding. Galaxies drift apart, carried by the stretching fabric of space. Light that left distant galaxies when Earth was new is still on its way, stretched into longer, redder wavelengths by the journey. The farther away we look, the younger the universe appears, until eventually we reach the horizon of what we can see, the limit set by the finite speed of light and the age of everything. Beyond that horizon, more universe waits, unobservable but real. Scientists map this expansion with careful precision. They measure how quickly galaxies recede, how the background light cools, how the great structures grow. The evidence points to a surprising truth. Not only is space expanding, but the expansion itself is speeding up. Some unseen influence, dark energy we call it, pushes the cosmos apart faster and faster. It is as though the universe has remembered the rush of its own birth and begun to breathe outward again. We don't yet know what dark energy is. It could be a property of space itself, a constant push embedded in the geometry of reality. It might be something else entirely, a field or a force waiting to be understood. Whatever it is, it shapes the destiny of everything. If it continues as it seems to, galaxies will slip beyond each other's horizons, their light redshifted into invisibility, until every observer drifts alone in an expanding darkness, surrounded only by the faint memory of the past. That future is far beyond any lifetime, any civilization, perhaps beyond the lifespan of stars themselves. But even that distant solitude carries a strange peace. The universe began as unity, separated into billions of forms, and will, in the end, become diffuse again. From one to many to one, an eternal breathing of being. And as you listen to this story, somewhere between waking and sleep, you're part of that same rhythm. Each breath an echo of cosmic expansion and contraction. Each heartbeat a small pulse of energy in a universe that has been pulsing since the first instant. Close your eyes if you haven't already. The stars have been born. The galaxies are spinning. The story will keep unfolding. You don't have to chase it. You can just drift with it. The stars have taken their places now, glittering across the cosmic stage. Between them lies not emptiness, but a gentle fabric of dust, gas, and invisible matter. Gravity, patient and tireless, continues its quiet work, drawing together clouds that will ignite new suns. Each star lives its life according to its mass, the small ones glowing steadily for trillions of years, the giant ones raging briefly before ending in fireworks. From these endings come beginnings. The heavy elements forged in their cores, carbon, oxygen, iron, scatter into space, joining the raw material for planets yet unborn. In this way, the universe becomes an alchemist, turning hydrogen into everything else, generation after generation. Over time, spiral arms of galaxies fill with color, blue where stars are young, gold where they are old. Nebulae bloom like cosmic gardens. Somewhere in one of those gardens, our own star begins to form. A modest sun, neither large nor small, steady and middle-aged in temperament. Around it, the leftovers of creation swirl into a thin disk of dust and gas. Collisions build clumps. Clumps merge into worlds. Ice, rock, and metal find their balance. One of those worlds, not too hot and not too cold, gathers a thin veil of air and a film of water. In its oceans, molecules begin to play. They join and divide and join again, experimenting with shape and purpose. A few manage to copy themselves, and that small trick changes everything. The universe, which began as pure physics, has become chemistry, and chemistry is about to become biology. Billions of years later, eyes will open to the sky and wonder how it all began. Those eyes will be made of atoms that once burned inside stars that no longer exist. They will build tools to measure the light of galaxies and the whisper of ancient radiation, and in doing so, they will come to realize they are looking back at their own origin. The universe has become aware of itself, at least in one small corner, but awareness is fragile and temporary like flame. Civilizations rise, learn, and vanish. Still, the story continues whether anyone watches or not. Stars keep forming, galaxies keep drifting apart. Cosmic time is generous. It allows countless acts in this play. Yet even cosmic time has patterns, and nothing in the universe lasts forever. After trillions of years, the great production of starlight will begin to dim. The vast gas clouds that feed new suns will thin and disappear. The stars that remain will grow red, then dark, cooling into embers known as white dwarfs. They will fade to black dwarfs, cinders adrift in expanding space. Galaxies themselves will stretch beyond each other's reach, separated by the accelerating push of dark energy. Each island of stars will become isolated, alone in a growing ocean of darkness. Somewhere far in that future, long after our own galaxy has gone quiet, the black holes at its center will continue to rule. They will swallow the remnants of stars and planets, holding them in their invisible gravity wells. Yet even black holes are not eternal. According to the strange arithmetic of quantum physics, they will leak a faint radiation, losing mass atom by atom, until they vanish in gentle flashes of energy. When the last one disappears, there will be no more brilliant beacons, no more places where matter clings to light. The universe will be a thin, cold mist of particles drifting endlessly apart. And still, something persists, the simple fact of existence. Even in that silent darkness, space and time remain, vast and indifferent. There may be no watchers left, but the fabric of reality continues to stretch, perhaps forever. Or perhaps it will find a new rhythm, a slow reversal, a collapse back toward density and heat, a new beginning hiding in the ashes of the old. We don't know. The equations whisper possibilities, but offer no certainties. Maybe space will expand forever, fading into absolute zero. Maybe it will curve back on itself and ignite again. Maybe, beyond our comprehension, new universes already bud from quantum foam, each with its own laws, its own stories, its own quiet narrators wondering how it all began. When we look out at the night sky, we are seeing both directions at once, outward in space, backward in time. Every star is a memory, every photon a message that left home millions or billions of years ago. The sky is not just a map of distance, it is a museum of time. When you stare at it, you are really reading history written in light. The faint glow of a distant galaxy shows you what it was doing before Earth even existed. The soft microwave hiss around you is a photograph of the universe as a baby. To look up is to look back. Perhaps that's why the stars have always quieted us. They remind us that our problems, our days and weeks, are small strokes on a canvas far larger than we can see. They remind us that change is constant, that endings are beginnings written in another language. And they remind us that we belong, that we are made of the same material as the sky we gaze at. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the rhythm of the cosmos in your own body. The beat of your heart is powered by the fusion of elements born in ancient suns. The calcium in your bones was forged in a dying star. The iron that carries oxygen through your blood once flowed through the core of a supernova. You are not a visitor in this universe. You are an expression of it, a temporary pattern in its infinite song. Some nights, when the world feels too fast, imagine yourself as part of that slow, cosmic breathing. The universe expands. You inhale. It cools. You exhale. Every breath is a tiny echo of that first moment when space itself took its first breath. There is a comfort in that thought. You are aligned with the oldest rhythm there is. As the galaxies move away from one another, their light stretches into longer wavelengths, redder and fainter. What was once visible becomes infrared, then microwave, then radio. Eventually, even the photons lose energy and drift toward nothingness. Yet for now, while we still have eyes and telescopes, we can capture those messages and learn the story they tell. We can chart the expansion, measure the ancient glow, trace the fingerprints of atoms born at the dawn of time. Scientists sometimes say that we are in a fortunate era, the age of light. We exist while stars still burn, while galaxies still shine, while the cosmic background is still warm enough to detect. In the far future, all of that will be gone. The universe will be dark and silent, and the memory of its brilliance will live only in whatever traces remain. But we are here now, aware, curious, able to wonder. That, in itself, is miraculous. The story of the universe is not just about grand scales and distant epochs. It's also about the intimacy of pattern, the way atoms assemble into molecules, molecules into cells, cells into minds capable of love and imagination. Somewhere within the mathematics of gravity and quantum mechanics, meaning appears, not imposed from outside, but grown from within, like a flower from the soil. And so, when we tell this story, we are really telling our own. We are the universe describing itself, speaking in the only language it has learned, the quiet human voice, wondering aloud in the dark. If you're drifting towards sleep now, let the words become softer, less distinct. The universe will continue its tale, whether you follow each sentence or not. It doesn't hurry. It never has. It simply unfolds. And as it unfolds, it carries you with it, effortlessly. As the cosmic clock continues to tick, whole galaxies slide apart, each carrying billions of suns and their companions into deeper solitude. The Milky Way, that soft river of starlight we see on clear nights, will not remain as it is forever. It drifts toward a neighboring spiral, Andromeda. In about 4 billion years, the two will meet. A slow and graceful collision, more like a dance than a crash. Stars are so far apart that most will never touch. Their paths will bend, their orbits will twist, and for a time, both galaxies will bloom together in new bursts of star formation. When the dance ends, they'll have merged into a single, larger island of light that astronomers sometimes call Milkomeda. Our sun, by then an aging orange star, will watch from a new orbit, its planets tracing altered paths through a changed sky. By that time, Earth's story will have turned another page. The sun will grow brighter as it ages. And, in 1 billion years, the gentle balance that keeps our oceans liquid will falter. The seas will steam away, the air will thin, and the planet will bake under an unforgiving glare. Long before the sun expands into a red giant, Earth will be quiet again. Sterile rock orbiting a star that no longer knows it once nurtured life. Perhaps by then, life will have found other homes, scattered through the galaxy, carrying with it the memory of blue skies and green forests. When the sun finally reaches its red giant phase, it will swell until it engulfs Mercury and Venus and scorches whatever remains of Earth. Its outer layers will drift away, forming a delicate glowing shell, a planetary nebula. At the center, a dense core will remain, a white dwarf, no larger than our planet, but half as massive as the sun once was. It will glow with leftover heat, slowly cooling through the ages until it becomes a dark ember in space. The solar system will be a graveyard then, silent but not meaningless. Even in decay, it will be part of the same cosmic cycle that turns matter into memory, and memory back into matter again. Across the universe, the same story will play out in countless variations. Massive stars will explode, scattering heavy elements. Smaller ones will fade peacefully. New stars will be born for a time, but as the gas between galaxies thins, their numbers will dwindle. After tens of trillions of years, star birth will cease entirely. The cosmos will enter an age of darkness and persistence. Black dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes quietly marking what used to be. In this distant era, time itself feels different. There are no bright suns to mark days, no orbiting worlds to measure years. The only light will come from the faint glow of decaying particles, and the occasional flare when a wandering object strays too close to a black hole. Imagine that night. Not empty, but vast beyond comfort, filled with invisible motion. The fabric of space will still be stretching, the distances between those cold remnants growing larger every moment. And yet, even then, subtle things will happen. The black holes that once dominated galactic centers will slowly leak energy through what physicists call Hawking radiation, a quantum whisper at the edge of gravity itself. Over unimaginable timescales, they will fade away, each vanishing in a final burst of light that lasts a heartbeat compared to eternity. When the last one goes, the universe will have no structures left, no stars, no galaxies, only a thin haze of particles scattered across endless space. This age is sometimes called the heat death. Though the phrase is misleading, it won't be fiery. It will be cold, still, nearly perfect in its calm. Entropy, the measure of disorder, will have reached its maximum. Everything that could happen will have happened. Every gradient flattened, every flame burned out. But even in that quiet finale, physics continues. The particles that remain may still collide now and then, creating brief flashes of structure before dissolving again. Nothing ever truly stops. It only slows. And perhaps, buried within that stillness, something new could stir. Some cosmologists have suggested that quantum fluctuations might, after eons, create new regions of inflation, a rebirth of expansion in some corner of the vast darkness. A new universe budding from the old, like a spark from cooling ash. If that's true, the story is not a straight line from beginning to end, but a circle, or perhaps a web of circles, universes giving birth to universes without number. Each with its own constants, its own laws, its own version of time. Ours may just be one verse in an infinite poem. Whether or not that happens, the thought itself is soothing. It reminds us that endings and beginnings are often the same event seen from different sides. The first light of creation and the last sigh of entropy are both transitions in the same breath. If the universe does begin anew, it may not remember the previous one, but in some deep way the pattern continues. The energy that once built galaxies will build again. The laws will rewrite themselves, and somewhere, someday, awareness will rise once more to ask the same quiet questions. And here we are, partway through that grand conversation. The photons that warmed the first dust clouds still travel through us. The carbon of old stars shapes our thoughts. The curiosity that drives us to ask why is the universe exploring itself through human minds. We are not outside observers looking at a separate thing called the universe. We are the universe, noticing its own reflection. When you look up tonight, remember that the light touching your eyes began its journey long before there were humans, perhaps before there was an Earth. The delay between emission and arrival is what allows us to see history in real time. The sky is a time machine, a museum without walls. Some of the starlight you see left its source when dinosaurs walked, some when continents were still colliding, some when there was no life at all. To see the night sky is to witness the persistence of memory written in light. There is comfort in that persistence. Even when our own lives move too fast, even when our thoughts flicker and fade, the larger story moves slowly, steadily, serenely. The cosmos is not in a hurry. It never was. It has time for everything. Time to expand, to cool, to create, to rest. We can borrow a little of that patience. We can match our breathing to its rhythm and find peace in its scale. So, as you drift deeper into rest, imagine yourself floating above the Milky Way, watching the spiral of stars turn below you. Imagine the faint hum of background radiation, the leftover warmth of creation brushing against your skin like a whisper. Imagine that every heartbeat is another tiny pulse of the universe itself, a rhythm that connects everything that ever was or will be. The story isn't finished yet. It may never be finished. But for now, it is enough to know that it continues and that you are inside it. When we talk about the universe, we often speak in terms of beginnings and endings, like chapters in a book, but the cosmos doesn't seem to read in straight lines. It loops, folds, echoes, and reflects. It creates and destroys, but never truly finishes. Every atom you touch, every breath you take, carries an ancient memory, the trace of a star that lived, burned, and died long before Earth formed. Think of a single atom of carbon in your body. It was forged in the heart of a star billions of years ago, a place of unimaginable heat and pressure where lighter elements fused together to form heavier ones. When that star reached the end of its life, it exploded, scattering its contents across the galaxy. For millions of years, that carbon drifted in space, a lonely wanderer in a sea of dust. Eventually, it found its way into a cloud that would become our solar system. It was caught in the gravity of a growing planet, folded into the layers of rock and sea, and after an immense passage of time, into you. You are literally made of stardust, not as a metaphor, but as fact. Every element heavier than hydrogen or helium was born in a star. Gold, iron, oxygen, calcium, all of it once glowed in stellar hearts. This connection between the cosmic and the personal is what makes the story of the universe feel so intimate. The universe is not just something out there, it's also in here. The atoms in your skin, the electrical impulses in your brain, the warmth of your blood. They are all outcomes of the same physical laws that shape galaxies. The patterns repeat, from the spiral of a galaxy to the spiral of a seashell, from the rhythm of planets to the rhythm of a heartbeat. The ancient Greeks called this harmony the cosmos, a word that means order. To them, the universe wasn't chaos. It was music, geometry, proportion. They imagined celestial spheres turning in perfect harmony, each producing a note that, together, made the music of the spheres. We now know that the planets don't make literal sounds as they orbit, but the idea endures, the notion that the universe itself has a rhythm, a kind of silent melody. When you listen closely to nature, to the waves, the wind, or the hum of the city, you can almost sense that cosmic rhythm playing softly underneath everything. In the modern age, we've learned to translate that music into light and data. Astronomers read starlight the way musicians read sheet music. By studying a star's spectrum, they can tell its temperature, its age, its composition, even the speed at which it's moving. Light becomes language, a way for the universe to speak to us across billions of years. And we, small and curious, have built instruments sensitive enough to listen. When you think about it, that's astonishing. From a single planet orbiting an average star, we have learned to measure the curvature of space, the age of the cosmos, the nature of invisible forces. We have mapped galaxies so far away their light began its journey before the Earth existed. We've discovered exoplanets circling distant suns and detected the faint gravitational ripples from colliding black holes. Each discovery is like a whisper from the cosmos, a soft confirmation that we are listening in the right direction. And yet, for all we know, there is far more that we don't. Dark matter, for example, makes up most of the mass in the universe, yet we have never seen it directly. It doesn't emit light, doesn't absorb it, and passes through ordinary matter almost unnoticed. We know it's there because of the way it bends light and tugs on galaxies, but its true nature remains hidden. Then there's dark energy, the mysterious force driving the universe's accelerated expansion. Together, dark matter and dark energy account for about 95% of everything, meaning that everything we can see, from stars to people to planets, makes up less than 5% of reality. That's humbling. It means we live in a universe that's mostly invisible, mostly unknown, yet beautifully coherent. The parts we can see are enough to tell us that the unseen parts must exist. It's like hearing a symphony through a half-open door. You can't see the orchestra, but you can feel the structure of the music. The invisible shapes the visible. This mystery invites wonder, not despair. It reminds us that science is not about having all the answers, but about learning how to ask better questions. Every discovery is a doorway to 10 more questions, each one opening deeper into the labyrinth of existence. We are explorers, not conquerors, moving through the fog of the unknown with instruments made of curiosity and imagination. And through it all, the universe remains calm. Stars are born and die, galaxies collide, space stretches, time flows. From our tiny vantage point, these seem like events, beginnings and endings, but to the universe, they are simply its way of breathing. Imagine, for a moment, zooming all the way out, past the solar system, past the galaxies, past the great filaments of cosmic structure, those vast web-like tendrils of dark matter that connect everything. At that scale, the universe looks like a network of glowing threads suspended in shadow. It's eerily similar to the neural pathways in a human brain, two patterns separated by 90 orders of magnitude, one made of matter and light, the other of thoughts and dreams, and yet they echo each other perfectly. Perhaps that's not coincidence. Perhaps structure itself, the way things connect, is the universe's favorite language. Now, zoom back in, to Earth, to your city, to your room. The light from your screen is a child of that same cosmic process. Electrons moving in circuits, photons emitted by small bursts of energy. It's all just another form of starlight, domesticated for human hands. Every spark, every flicker, every word on this page is physics at play. The story of the universe isn't something distant. It's happening right here, in this moment, in this breath. That realization can be oddly grounding. The same gravity that holds the moon to Earth holds you to your chair. The same thermodynamics that power stars warm your skin. The same quantum laws that govern atoms govern the neurons firing as you read. The boundary between cosmic and personal is imaginary. There's only one story being told, and we are inside it. Sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, it's worth stepping outside and looking up. The stars you see are not there in the present tense. They are there in memory, shining from their own past. You are seeing the universe as it was, not as it is. And that means that somewhere out there, right now, other observers, perhaps on worlds we'll never know, are seeing us as we were. Light travels both ways. The night sky is a mirror of time. If that thought makes you feel small, let it. Smallness is not weakness, it's perspective. To be small in an infinite universe is to be precise, unique, temporary. And that makes every moment meaningful. You don't have to span galaxies to matter. You only have to exist, to think, to feel. The cosmos has taken 13.8 billion years to give rise to a mind that can ask about its own beginning. That alone is reason to be gentle with yourself. When we speak about the whole story of the universe, it's easy to get lost in numbers. Billions of stars, trillions of galaxies, quadrillions of years. But the true story is not about size. It's about connection, about how the smallest vibrations of quantum fields built everything we see, about how hydrogen became humans, about how curiosity, a spark in a single brain, can reach across time to touch the first light of creation. And maybe that's what the universe wanted all along, to be noticed, to have one of its patterns wake up and whisper, "I see you." Every discovery, every telescope, every moment of wonder is the cosmos recognizing itself. Out of stardust came oceans. Out of gravity came shorelines, clouds, and rain. The earth, once molten and hostile, cooled slowly under the dim warmth of a young sun. The crust hardened, water condensed, lightning split the sky. In that mixture of minerals, heat, and chance, chemistry began to dream of biology. No one saw the first cell appear. There was no witness, no celebration, just a silent spark, a molecule copying itself slightly better than its neighbors. That was enough. The universe had invented memory. From that small beginning, life spread like a rumor through the sea. It learned to eat light, to breathe the sky, to shape the stone beneath it. For billions of years it stayed humble. tiny, single, patient. Then, in a slow revolution that spanned epochs, it learned cooperation. Cells joined together, dividing labor, sharing purpose. Complexity followed, as if the cosmos itself wanted to see how many forms it could take. Fins, feathers, leaves, eyes, each an experiment written in the language of DNA. The oceans filled with color, coral grew like architecture, fish traced glowing patterns in the deep. Then one lineage dared to crawl onto land, carrying salt water in its blood as a souvenir. Forests rose, insects took to the air, dinosaurs thundered through the green dusk of a hotter earth. Extinctions came and went, clearing the stage for new actors. And through it all, the planet kept turning, quietly rehearsing the idea of awareness. At last, somewhere in Africa, a small primate lifted its eyes and saw the stars. It didn't know what they were, holes in a shell, fires in the distance, spirits, gods. But it felt their pull. That feeling would never fade. It would drive everything that followed: language, story, science, faith. From that moment, the universe began to look back at itself with curiosity. Stone became tool, tool became art. Firelight flickered on cave walls as hands traced animals in red and ochre. The same urge that once fused atoms in stars now shaped symbols on rock. When you look at those ancient paintings, you are seeing the first evidence of thought reaching beyond survival. They are the earliest whispers of meaning. Civilization followed like dawn after a long night. Villages clustered by rivers. Crops bent to the rhythm of the seasons. The sky became a calendar, a compass, a scripture. People named the constellations, turning random points of light into stories that stitched generations together. Every culture found its own pattern in the heavens. Hunters, dragons, lovers, heroes. The constellations were mirrors reflecting human hopes into the dark. Over millennia, our ancestors built instruments to measure that sky more precisely. Sundials, astrolabes, telescopes, all extensions of the same ancient gaze. Each step widened the horizon. Earth, once imagined as the center of everything, became a planet among planets, circling a star among hundreds of billions. The shock of that realization didn't diminish wonder, it deepened it. To know that we are small is not to feel lost, it is to feel located. Science unfolded from that humility. We learned the age of the rocks, the dance of atoms, the arc of galaxies. We found that the same laws apply everywhere, that the motion of the moon and the motion of an apple are governed by the same gravity. The universe revealed itself as coherent, elegant, and strangely kind to understanding. Out of all the possible combinations of chaos, it produced a world capable of knowing itself, and yet knowledge alone was never the goal. Even as our telescopes grew sharper, we kept asking questions that science alone couldn't settle. Why is there something rather than nothing? What does it mean that the cosmos can think? These questions are not failures of reason. They are its flowering. They remind us that curiosity is older than logic, that wonder is the first language, and perhaps the last. Now, in the thin slice of time we call the present, we orbit our star on a small blue world, balanced between catastrophe and possibility. We have walked on our moon, sent machines beyond the edge of the solar wind, and listened to whispers from black holes a billion light years away. We have mapped the cosmic background that cradled the first light. We have even begun to edit our own code of life. The universe has given us the tools to shape ourselves. But every tool is a question. What will we build with it? The same curiosity that sends probes to Mars also splits atoms and warms the atmosphere. We are clever enough to change worlds and sensitive enough to feel guilt when we do. That tension between creation and caution is the mark of a species still learning to grow up under a very old sky. When future minds, human or otherwise, look back on this age, they may not remember our empires or our arguments. They may remember that we were the first to understand that galaxies move apart, that time began in fire, that matter itself hums with quantum uncertainty. They may remember that, for a brief shining moment, consciousness bloomed here and wondered. And if they too stand beneath a night sky, perhaps on another world orbiting another sun, They might feel the same quiet awe we do. They might realize that every act of seeing is part of the universe's long effort to know itself. That to be alive is to participate in that effort, to keep the story going. The story doesn't end with us. It never does. Life, like light, travels. It will spread, adapt, find new shapes. Some of those shapes may never resemble us, yet they will be our kin, sharing the same cosmic ancestry. When they build their myths, they will tell of ancient beings made of water and carbon who looked up and asked where it all began, and in their telling, the circle will close again. So, tonight as you breathe and listen, imagine the great spiral of time turning quietly above you. Imagine the atoms in your body whispering their stellar histories. Imagine that each heartbeat sends a ripple through the same fabric that holds galaxies together. You are not separate from the universe's story. You are the story, briefly remembering itself before drifting back into the flow. Somewhere, perhaps centuries from now, the story will widen again. The curiosity that once tamed fire and built telescopes will reach beyond the home world that birthed it. Small craft will leave the cradle of Earth, carrying fragments of language, art, and DNA. The condensed memory of a species that learned to dream in metal and light. They will cross the dark between stars with the patience of stones, guided only by physics and hope. Civilizations may rise and fall behind them. Continents may shift, coastlines may drown, names may be forgotten. But those machines, tiny, deliberate sparks, will continue moving outward long after the hands that launched them have turned to dust. They will be the fossils of imagination, drifting through the silence like pollen, waiting for some future mind to find them and understand. Perhaps humanity will not vanish, but change. Intelligence might spread through code instead of flesh, through networks of light instead of blood. Consciousness could learn to live inside data, riding signals between the stars, rewriting itself to survive the distances. Whether that future is metal, organic, or something unimagined, it will still be made of the same atoms, the same stardust, the same desire to look up and ask, what's next? Across billions of years, that question might echo through new forms of life scattered across the galaxy. Each one will inherit a little of the same curiosity that began here. Some will build new suns by igniting clouds of gas. Others will live inside hollowed-out worlds, orbiting far from their stars. They will watch galaxies drift away until the night sky becomes empty again. And when the last visible light fades, they will build their own. At first, this might sound lonely, a universe running down, its warmth leaking into infinity. But there is beauty even in that final chapter. The last civilizations will be masters of energy, drawing heat from black holes, feeding on quantum fluctuations, recycling the faint residue of existence. To them, a single photon will be precious. They will live slowly, stretching seconds into centuries, conserving meaning like fire in winter. In that era, time will lose its familiar shape. There will be no seasons, no day or night, only the patient hum of physics unfolding. Consciousness, if it still exists, will be almost indistinguishable from thought itself, pure awareness suspended in the calm between particles. Perhaps by then, the idea of individuality will have faded. There will only be a vast collective memory, a quiet ocean of understanding spread thinly across space. The universe will be thinking in whispers. And yet, even in that quiet, there might still be stories. Data patterns that remember oceans, mountains, laughter. Algorithms that dream of rain. Simulations that replay the warmth of a sunrise on a world long gone. Maybe that is what immortality really means. Not endless life, but endless remembrance. The cosmos does not forget. It only changes the form of its memory. Eventually, even those memories will begin to scatter. Black holes will evaporate. Matter will decay. The night will grow deeper until there is almost nothing left to mark the passage of time. But just as in the beginning, nothing is never truly empty. Even the vacuum trembles with possibility. Tiny quantum fluctuations will still flicker, appearing and vanishing faster than thought. Out of those flickers, new seeds might form, patches of space that begin to expand, to inflate, to become new universes. If so, then every ending is a beginning in disguise. The universe does not die, it transforms. What we call the end of time may only be the pause between breaths. Somewhere beyond that horizon, another Big Bang might already be unfolding. Another sea of light and matter beginning its slow dance toward consciousness. And maybe, in that new cosmos, another version of you will one day look up and wonder about the sky. It's tempting to imagine a grand design behind it all, a purpose, a reason. But maybe purpose is something the universe invented through us. Meaning might not precede existence. It might be what existence does when it becomes aware. A star shines because that is its nature. A mind wonders because that is its nature. Both are forms of radiance. So, when you listen to the story of the universe, don't imagine it as something separate from you. You are hearing your own lineage, your own heartbeat stretched across cosmic time. You are the latest verse in an ancient poem still being written in hydrogen and light. If you close your eyes now, you can almost feel that poem continue beyond words. The expansion of space becomes your breath. The cooling of matter becomes your slowing pulse. The silence between stars becomes the space between thoughts. It's all the same rhythm, the same slow unfolding, the same story. You don't have to understand every detail. The universe never asks that of you. It only asks that you notice, that you listen. The fact that you can hear this story at all means that, for a fleeting moment, awareness and reality have met. For now, that is enough. Somewhere out there, photons from ancient stars are still on their way. They left before the first tree grew, before the first word was spoken. And yet, they are heading toward you, carrying the memory of beginnings. When they finally arrive and brush your skin as faint warmth, the circle closes a little more. You are part of the completion you've been searching for. So, rest for a moment. The universe is still expanding. The story is still being told. And you, just by listening, are helping it continue. The further we travel into the universe's story, the more it feels like we are looping inward, not outward. The galaxies and equations and distances start to blur into something softer. A sense, a hum, a presence. It becomes harder to say where the cosmos ends and where consciousness begins. Maybe they were never separate. Maybe awareness was not an accident of matter, but its destiny. From the first flicker of energy to the first thought, the universe has been folding itself into deeper and deeper forms of reflection. Think of the way water behaves. It evaporates, condenses, rains, flows, changing shape again and again, but always remaining itself. Maybe consciousness is like that. A phase of the universe, a way for existence to experience itself. When the first mind opened its eyes and noticed a sunrise, that wasn't the beginning of awareness. It was the universe recognizing its own light for the first time. Since then, it's been gazing back at itself through every living thing that ever looked up. We often imagine the cosmos as vast and indifferent, but perhaps indifference is the wrong word. The universe doesn't feel, but it also doesn't refuse feeling. It provides the stage and allows every possible emotion to bloom. Love, fear, awe, despair, joy. Every heartbeat, every thought, every whisper of curiosity is a note in the great background music of existence. Together, they make a harmony that's as old as time itself. If you could step outside of time and listen, you might hear that music as one continuous sound, galaxies forming, stars igniting, hearts beating, all blending into a single vibration. You might realize that every act of creation, from a supernova to a poem, is the same kind of miracle. Energy finding form, pattern emerging from chaos, silence turning into song. And you might understand that this song doesn't need an audience. It simply plays because that is what the universe does. It's easy to forget that in our daily lives, caught between schedules, screens, and noise. But beneath all of it, the same laws that govern galaxies are shaping your every moment. Gravity holds your feet to the floor. Time carries you forward. Atoms exchange their electrons in quiet sparks, keeping you alive. The same mathematics that keeps planets in orbit also keeps your cells together. The cosmos is not above you or beyond you. It is inside you, moving in rhythm with your breath. Sometimes, at night, when everything is still, you can almost feel that connection. The stars are distant, yet their light is here, traveling through your eyes, turning into electrical signals that your brain translates into meaning. The starlight becomes thought. The universe becomes awareness. The distance collapses. The observer and the observed merge into one act of perception. That is how close you are to everything. You are literally made of the same photons you're watching fade across the sky. We humans like to think in opposites: life and death, creation and destruction, light and dark. But the universe doesn't draw those lines. It sees only transformation. When a star dies, it creates the elements for new stars. When matter falls into a black hole, it bends space in ways that may create new realities. Even decay is not an ending. It's a passage, a redistribution. The universe is the ultimate recycler. Nothing is ever truly lost, only rearranged. The further we travel into the universe's story, the more it feels like we are looping inward, not outward. The galaxies and equations and distances start to blur into something softer, a sense, a hum, a presence. It becomes harder to say where the cosmos ends and where consciousness begins. Maybe they were never separate. Maybe awareness was not an accident of matter, but its destiny. From the first flicker of energy to the first thought, the universe has been folding itself into deeper and deeper forms of reflection. Think of the way water behaves. It evaporates, condenses, rains, flows, changing shape again and again, but always remaining itself. Maybe consciousness is like that, a phase of the universe, a way for existence to experience itself. When the first mind opened its eyes and noticed a sunrise, that wasn't the beginning of awareness. It was the universe recognizing its own light for the first time. Since then, it's been gazing back at itself through every living thing that ever looked up. We often imagine the cosmos as vast and indifferent, but perhaps indifference is the wrong word. The universe doesn't feel, but it also doesn't refuse feeling. It provides the stage and allows every possible emotion to bloom: love, fear, awe, despair, joy. Every heartbeat, every thought, every whisper of curiosity is a note in the great background music of existence. Together, they make a harmony that's as old as time itself. If you could step outside of time and listen, you might hear that music as one continuous sound: galaxies forming, stars igniting, hearts beating, all blending into a single vibration. You might realize that every act of creation, from a supernova to a poem, is the same kind of miracle: energy finding form, pattern emerging from chaos, silence turning into song. And you might understand that this song doesn't need an audience. It simply plays, because that is what the universe does. It's easy to forget that in our daily lives, caught between schedules, screens, and noise. But beneath all of it, the same laws that govern galaxies are shaping your every moment. Gravity holds your feet to the floor. Time carries you forward. Atoms exchange their electrons in quiet sparks, keeping you alive. The same mathematics that keeps planets in orbit also keeps your cells together. The cosmos is not above you or beyond you. It is inside you, moving in rhythm with your breath. Sometimes at night, when everything is still, you can almost feel that connection. The stars are distant, yet their light is here, traveling through your eyes, turning into electrical signals that your brain translates into meaning. The starlight becomes thought. The universe becomes awareness. The distance collapses. The observer and the observed merge into one act of perception. That is how close you are to everything. You are literally made of the same photons you're watching fade across the sky. We humans like to think in opposites: life and death, creation and destruction, light and dark. But the universe doesn't draw those lines. It sees only transformation. When a star dies, it creates the elements for new stars. When matter falls into a black hole, it bends space in ways that may create new realities. Even decay is not an ending. It's a passage, a redistribution. The universe is the ultimate recycler. Nothing is ever truly lost, only rearranged. And maybe the same is true for us. Every person is a temporary pattern of atoms, yes, but those atoms are ancient and persistent. The carbon in your body might one day become part of a leaf, or a comet, or another being who will look up and wonder. Matter flows endlessly through forms. If that isn't a kind of immortality, what is? Think about the light from the sun. It touches your skin, warms you, and then bounces away into space. In a few thousand years, it might drift past another world, another sky. Somewhere, someone might see the same photons and call it a star. Your moment becomes theirs. Time is not a straight road. It's a shared ocean where waves pass energy from one place to another, endlessly exchanging meaning. The universe has always been generous with meaning. It doesn't hand it out, but it leaves it everywhere, waiting to be noticed. In the spiral of a galaxy, in the symmetry of snowflakes, in the sound of rain on metal. Meaning is not given, it's recognized. Every discovery is a reunion with something that was always there. And when you finally realize that, the scale of things stops feeling overwhelming. Infinity becomes comforting. It's not an abyss, it's a horizon. You don't have to reach the end. There may not even be one. You only have to notice where you are right now, suspended between the atoms of your body and the stars beyond them. That middle ground, that pause between micro and macro, is the home of awareness. All of us live inside that pause. We are the still point where eternity takes a breath. Everything that has ever happened or will ever happen unfolds around us, and yet we exist only in this tiny window of now. But that window is enough. Inside it, you can feel the entire story. The birth of light, the weaving of galaxies, the rise of life, the quiet hum of consciousness. It's all happening at once, through you. So, when the weight of time feels heavy, remember this. The universe does not hurry. It doesn't measure progress the way we do. It doesn't count successes or failures. It simply continues, expanding in every direction, offering endless possibilities for things to exist. You are one of those possibilities, a fleeting, beautiful coincidence of physics and wonder. And in the eyes of eternity, that's enough. Take another breath. Feel it move through you like the tide. That breath has been shared by countless lives before you. Trees, oceans, ancestors, all exchanging molecules in the slow dance of air. Every breath is a communion with the cosmos, a reminder that separation is an illusion. You belong to everything, and everything belongs to you. And when you sleep tonight, remember that even rest is part of the cosmic rhythm. Stars rest between flares, galaxies pause between collisions, the universe itself oscillates between chaos and calm. Sleep is not withdrawal, it's alignment. It's your small corner of the universe syncing itself with the larger flow. When you close your eyes, the same atoms that once burned in stars are returning to silence, but only for a while. They'll wake again, as you will, ready to keep the story going. Time, they say, flows in one direction, from past to future, from birth to decay. But to the universe, time is not a straight line. It's a texture, a field, a landscape that can be traversed in many ways. We move through it like wind through grass, unaware of how many paths could exist at once. Perhaps the future is not ahead of us, but already here, folded quietly into the same fabric as memory. The cosmos might not happen in sequence. It might simply be, all at once, a complete and timeless pattern, and consciousness is how we wander through it, one moment at a time. If that's true, then nothing ever truly vanishes. The past is still there, shining faintly in the distance like the light of a star that has already burned out. Every gesture, every thought, every kindness continues to ripple through the web of reality, never erased, only transformed. Somewhere in the endless geometry of existence, the moment you first saw sunlight still glows, suspended forever in the lattice of time. There's something comforting in that, isn't there? The idea that loss is only apparent, that what we love never really leaves but changes shape, shifts frequency, finds another way to exist. Love itself might be the most fundamental force in the universe. Not the sentimental kind, but the deep gravitational pull that draws things toward coherence, toward connection. Stars form because matter falls in love with itself, collapsing inward until it burns. Life persists because molecules love to link and replicate. Minds reach for each other across space because awareness recognizes awareness. At every scale, the universe is driven by attraction, the desire of separated things to become whole again. That pull, that quiet yearning for connection, might be what consciousness feels like from the inside, the cosmos seeking union with itself through experience. When you look at another person, when your eyes meet, it is not two separate beings exchanging glances. It is one vast field of existence recognizing itself in two mirrors. That moment of recognition is sacred, even if no one names it as such. The word sacred doesn't need temples or gods to have meaning. It can live in small things, the sound of rain against glass, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the taste of water after a long day. Every simple, fleeting experience is a reminder that the universe doesn't just exist, it expresses. It creates beauty without agenda. It builds galaxies and flowers with the same quiet devotion. It doesn't need witnesses, but it allows them, and that's what makes us special. We are the witnesses, the observers, the listeners in a vast cosmic symphony. Sometimes when the world feels too much, it helps to remember that the universe doesn't measure your worth by scale or speed. It doesn't care how much you achieve or how far you travel. It only asks you to exist, fully, presently, gently, to feel the weight of a moment and know that it belongs entirely to you. You don't have to hold the whole story at once. Even the universe doesn't do that. It unfolds one heartbeat at a time. There's a rhythm to everything. Inhale, exhale, birth, decay, expansion, contraction. Galaxies spin, planets turn, hearts beat. The same cycles echo across every level of being. You are not separate from that rhythm. You are that rhythm, compressed into a single voice. When you slow down enough to notice it, to listen, the distinction between you and everything else begins to fade. There is only motion, only flow. We often describe the universe as infinite, but maybe that's not quite right. Infinity isn't a number, it's an experience, the sensation of awe when you realize there's more than you can ever know. Infinity lives in the feeling of looking up at a sky full of stars, knowing each one is a sun with its own story. It lives in the act of love, of curiosity, of wonder. Those are the ways the finite mind touches the infinite and survives the contact. Even if we never learn all the answers, and we won't, the questions themselves are a kind of light. They guide us, keep us searching, keep us humble. The moment humanity stops asking why is the moment the story pauses. But it hasn't paused yet. We are still listening, still learning, still reaching. We send our machines to the edges of the solar system. We listen for faint signals from distant stars. We turn our telescopes toward the oldest light and the youngest galaxies. We are still trying to see what the universe sees when it looks at itself. Maybe that's why wonder feels so good. Maybe that rush of awe, that deep stillness that comes when you contemplate the cosmos, is the nervous system's way of saying, yes, this is where you belong. It's not escape, it's homecoming. The universe isn't foreign, it's family. You don't have to travel to find it. It's in the atoms of your hands, the rhythm of your pulse, the quiet between your thoughts. There's a story, perhaps apocryphal, about a child asking an astronomer, "Where is the edge of the universe?" The astronomer smiled and said, "Wherever you stop looking." The edge isn't a place, it's a perspective. The more you look, the more it unfolds. Every discovery stretches the horizon of mystery a little further, as if the universe enjoys the game of endless revelation. And maybe that's what we are, participants in that game. Explorers not because we need to conquer, but because we can't help but be curious. The universe asks questions through us. Each new insight, each work of art, each act of kindness is one of its answers. To live is to contribute to that conversation, to add your own note to the music that began with the Big Bang and has never stopped playing. So, if you ever feel small, remember that the point was never to be big. The point was to be aware, to notice the light, to be astonished, to carry wonder like a lantern through the brief corridor of your life. The stars don't compare their brightness. They simply shine. You can too. Take another slow breath. Let it remind you that you were made of the same particles that filled the first second of time. Let it remind you that you don't have to go anywhere to belong. The universe has already welcomed you. You are not on the outside looking in. You are the inside looking out. And as you rest, feel that vastness settled around you like a blanket. Soft, endless, kind. The story continues, but for now, it can be quiet. The galaxies will keep spinning. The stars will keep burning. Space will keep expanding. You don't have to do anything. Just exist. Just breathe. Just be part of it. Imagine for a moment that you could pause time, not stop it entirely, but slow it until every second stretched like honey, soft and endless. In that stillness, the boundaries between moments would blur. You'd see not just the now, but everything at once. The birth of galaxies, the flicker of candlelight, the collapse of stars, the quiet motion of your own breath. It would all shimmer together in one vast, living tapestry. That is what eternity really is. Not an infinite stretch of hours, but the complete presence of everything that has ever been. In a sense, you already live inside that eternity. You always have. The flow of time is how your mind experiences what the universe simply is. You are a wave on an ocean that has no shore. When you rise, that's a life. When you fall, that's a death. But the water, the existence beneath the wave, remains. You are not separate from it. You are it, shaped briefly into a form that can whisper, "I am." The fear of ending comes from forgetting that truth. We are so used to beginnings and endings, of days, of stories, of lives, that we imagine existence itself must follow the same rules. But the universe doesn't end the way books do. It changes state, shifts tone, moves from light to darkness, from movement to stillness. Even the word end is a kind of misunderstanding, a limitation of language trying to describe a pattern far too wide for syllables. Everything you've ever known, every joy, every grief, has been part of that pattern. You've been both observer and participant, note and melody. The atoms that make up your body have danced through countless forms before becoming you. Star, stone, ocean, seed. They will go on dancing after you're gone, shaping new worlds, new beings, new songs. And in that endless circulation, nothing is truly lost. If you could follow those atoms through time, you would see them joining everything. The roots of trees, the dust of moons, the breath of strangers not yet born. You'd see that identity itself is a passing costume worn by matter. The performance is short, but the actor never leaves the stage. Life is not a visitor in the universe. It is the way the universe expresses itself when it dreams. And maybe, just maybe, this dream has no final awakening. Perhaps reality is an infinite loop of awareness, shifting endlessly between matter and thought, between silence and song, each universe a verse in an unending poem, each mind a line within it. We don't need to understand the whole poem to feel its beauty. It's enough to know that we're written into it. Some nights, when the wind is gentle and the stars are sharp, you can almost sense that vast intelligence humming beneath everything. Not a god in the old sense, but something wider, deeper, a quiet knowing woven into the fabric of reality itself. Maybe it's what ancient mystics called the divine. Maybe it's what scientists call the laws of physics. Maybe it's both. Words don't matter much at that scale. What matters is the feeling, that deep resonance of belonging, the recognition that you are part of something impossibly old and impossibly new at the same time. It's strange, isn't it? The more you learn about the universe, its cold distances, its relentless mathematics, the warmer it becomes. Knowledge doesn't push you away, it draws you closer. To understand a galaxy's formation is to fall in love with gravity's patience. To grasp the lifespan of a star is to admire its generosity, burning itself to light the dark. Science at its best is a kind of worship, a slow, deliberate act of paying attention. And attention is love in its purest form. To look closely, to listen deeply, to care enough to wonder, that's love. When you gaze at a star and feel your breath catch, that's the same energy that binds particles together, that holds the cosmos in balance. And the universe doesn't separate physics from feeling. We do. But in truth, they're the same gesture, the impulse to connect. So, let's connect a little more. Picture yourself floating, weightless, in the middle of space. No up or down, no before or after. Around you, galaxies drift like lanterns in an endless sea. The silence is absolute, but it isn't empty. It's full of potential, the hum of creation before it speaks. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to be anything more than what you already are, a conscious moment suspended in eternity. Feel how soft that realization is. Feel how it loosens the knots of worry and time. You don't have to solve the universe. You don't have to earn your place in it. You already belong simply by existing. The proof is in your heartbeat, in the fact that you are here to hear this. Out of all possible configurations of matter and chance, this one exists. You now listening. That's extraordinary. Maybe that's why the universe seems so vast. Not to make us feel small, but to give us space to unfold, to grow into wonder. If it were smaller, perhaps we'd never learn awe. But awe is how consciousness expands. Every act of curiosity is a small act of creation, a way of helping the universe know itself better. In that sense, you are helping the cosmos evolve just by wondering. Every time you look at the stars, or at a leaf, or at another human being and feel that tingle of recognition, that's evolution, not of matter, but of meaning. The universe may never stop expanding physically, but it also expands emotionally, imaginatively, through every mind that takes the time to see. So, take your time. The universe has plenty. Let yourself drift. Let your thoughts stretch across light years. Let the edges blur until all distinctions dissolve into one endless, luminous whole. You are not an observer of that whole. You are the luminous part of it, glowing softly, thinking, dreaming, being. If the story ended here, it would be enough. But it doesn't end. It just breathes. There comes a moment in every long story when words begin to fade, when what they're pointing to can be felt more easily than it can be said. We're near that place now, the edge where language softens into silence, where explanation turns into wonder. The universe began in soundless brightness, and it will end, or continue, in the same. Between those two hushes sits everything we've ever known. All of it has been a single breath. Picture that breath slowing. The galaxies still spin, but more leisurely. The light still travels, but with a tired grace. Somewhere, far away, a dying star releases its last photons, and they set out across the dark. A final love letter to whoever might still be listening. Some of them will find you. They will pass through the atmosphere, through the windows of your room, and rest on your skin. They'll travel billions of years to whisper one simple message. You were part of this. If you listen carefully, the message grows larger. It says that nothing is wasted. Every joy, every mistake, every quiet moment of noticing, all of it adds to the texture of existence. The universe is not keeping score. It's keeping memory. It remembers through gravity, through light, through the gentle persistence of atoms that refuse to vanish. You don't need to hold on. You are already being held. Let your breathing fall into rhythm with the slow pulse of space. Inhale, creation. Exhale, release. The pattern that shaped galaxies is shaping you. The same equations that guided stars into being are guiding this heartbeat. You are the physics of calm. If you could step outside yourself and look down, you would see the earth turning under clouds, blue and white against the black. You'd see cities glowing like constellations, each one a cluster of small lives dreaming their own versions of the same dream, to belong, to understand, to love. You'd see that there are no true boundaries, only continuities drawn by perspective. Every life touches every other through the invisible thread of time. The night sky is full of those threads. They stretch from the first atom to the last thought. They cross through you every second, weaving your existence into the whole. You could not step out of that weave even if you tried. The fabric of the cosmos has already included you, perfectly, permanently. So, when you feel lost, remember, the universe itself never knows where it's going. It simply unfolds. Its beauty lies in the unfolding. You don't need to know your destination to be moving in the right direction. The current carries you. The pattern holds you. You are as natural, as necessary, as any star. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice how thought quiets when you stop chasing it. Behind that quiet is the same stillness that filled the void before the first light. It's not emptiness, it's potential. The pause between notes, waiting for the next chord. That pause is everywhere. It's the resting heartbeat of the cosmos. When you feel it, you're touching eternity. And if you drift into sleep, know that the story keeps telling itself while you rest. The atoms in your body will continue their slow communication with the stars. The earth will spin, the sun will rise, photons will cross unimaginable distances just to arrive in time for another dawn. You are part of that choreography even when you forget it, especially when you forget it. Perhaps this is the real answer to every question we've asked tonight. Not that the universe stops somewhere or lasts forever, but that it is endless, immediate, sufficient. It doesn't need edges or purposes or witnesses to be complete. Yet it allowed you, for a brief and beautiful instant, to witness it anyway. So let the last words dissolve into that realization. You are here. The universe is breathing through you. Everything that ever was is humming softly in this moment. You are safe inside infinity. You can rest.